Dinner wasn't supposed to go like that. I put in the effort, bought the wine she liked, cooked something decent, even dimmed the lights like I used when we still cared. I wasn't expecting a miracle, just hoping the evening would feel less distant. She arrived 10 minutes late, her heels clicking on the tile, still in her work blazer. No greeting, no kiss, just dropped her bag on a chair and slid into her seat like we were strangers meeting for business. I poured her a glass of wine, and for the first 10 minutes, we barely spoke, exchanging neutral details. Her travel plans for the next week, a bill we hadn't paid, the neighbor's kid hitting our mailbox. We spoke like people who didn't know how to fill the silence anymore. Then I asked something I shouldn't have. Do you even like me anymore? I didn't mean to say it like that. It had been on my mind all week, but I hadn't planned to throw it out there between the asparagus and lamb. She froze, fork halfway to her mouth, staring at me like I had just suggested something bizarre. Then she smiled and laughed, a soft, genuine laugh that started small but grew louder, her head tilting back slightly. "You're serious?" she said, wiping a tear from her eye. "Jesus, you actually sat there and asked that like we're in some therapy session." I didn't respond. She took a sip of her wine, swirled it in her glass like we were in some fancy tasting room instead of our dining room, where the clock on the wall ticked just a little too loud. "You know what your problem is?" she asked. "You think everything has to mean something. Every sigh, every look, every missed text. You act like you're in some drama no one else is watching." I had heard it before, but this time it stung. It wasn't the words. It was how easily they came out, like she wasn't even thinking about it, like it didn't matter anymore. I had spent months trying to fix whatever was wrong, trying to be more attentive, less reactive, staying quiet when she came home late, making excuses for her in front of friends. But here she was, laughing at my question as if it was some kind of joke. She picked at her food, still grinning as if I were a passing amusement, and moved on from it quickly. I didn't move, didn't frown, didn't pick up my fork. I just sat there, feeling more distant than I had before. Her phone buzzed beside her plate, and without a word, she typed a response and locked again. "Maybe if you need constant reassurance or something, you should see someone," she said, waving her hand dismissively as if brushing away an insignificant thought. The rest of the meal was more the same, scattered comments about her day, work, a coworker who got written up, a pitch she thought went well. I nodded at the right moments, but I was already somewhere else. I kept thinking about that laugh, the kind I hadn't heard in a long time. The worst part was that it wasn't about me. It had nothing to do with me anymore. She left her plate half finished and stood up. "I've got emails," she said, already heading upstairs. "No, thank you. No, good night." I listened to the sound of her heels fading down the hallway, then the bedroom door closing softly. I sat there for a while, watching her empty seat, try to remember the last time I saw her smile because of me. The food had gone cold, and the candles were down to puddles of wax. I didn't cry. I didn't clench my fists. I just sat in silence, letting the stillness settle in. It hit me then. It wasn't just indifference. She enjoyed it, and I was done giving her anything else to enjoy. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay on my side, staring at the faint glow of the hallway light, creeping through the bottom of the bedroom door. Her breathing was steady, unbothered, as if everything was fine. But I couldn't shake the thought of the receipt. 2 nights ago, while I'd been watching a movie, she'd been out at dinner with someone else. I wasn't angry, not yet, just numb, watching the signs click into place. Around 3 a.m., I got up and walked to the kitchen. I stood in front of the open fridge, not hungry, not needing anything, just wanted to be somewhere else. Something caught my eye, her receipt neatly folded, tucked between the magnets. It was from a restaurant I didn't recognize, dated 2 nights ago, with a time stamp at 7:48 p.m. She had told me she was staying in because of a migraine. I checked the details. Dinner for 2, expensive food, no drinks. I set the receipt down carefully, walked back to the bedroom, and found her still asleep, curled into her pillow, phone still in her hand. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel betrayal. Not yet. Just the truth, staring back at me. I sat in the armchair and waited for morning, not out of some dramatic instinct, just because sleep seemed irrelevant. At 7:15, her alarm went off, and she groggily reached for her phone. She blinked, noticed the empty side of the bed. "You okay?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "I'm fine," I said, my voice steady. She glanced at the receipt on the counter, but didn't comment. "I've got a packed morning," she said, already moving toward the bathroom. "I'll be late if I don't shower now." There was nothing unusual in her tone, no hint of guilt. It was as if this was normal. I watched her close the bathroom door and heard the water turn on. Then I unplugged her phone. It buzzed once in my hand. 2 unread messages from a name I didn't recognize. I didn't open them. I didn't need to. I took the phone, walked downstairs, and set it next to the receipt on the counter. Not for confrontation, just so she would know that I knew, and that I no longer cared enough to fight about it. When she came downstairs, rushing through breakfast, she glanced at her phone. Then she noticed the receipt. Her eyes lingered on it for half a second. "Did you go through my stuff?" she asked, her voice flat. I didn't answer. I finished my coffee and stood up, rinsing my mug. "You know that's not healthy behavior," she said. But I just grabbed my jacket and walked out the door. No slamming doors, no dramatic exit. Just a quiet end to something that had already been dying. She didn't call. She didn't chase me outside. By the time I reached the office, it was like someone had opened a window in my head. Everything was clearer, now quieter. The mess was still there, but for the first time, I wasn't pretending it wasn't. And that, for some reason, felt like a relief. I didn't act any differently on the outside. I went through my routine, nodded good morning to colleagues, answered emails, and sat through meetings just like any other Wednesday. But something had changed within me. The pressure of holding everything together was gone. I didn't care if she noticed, or if anyone did. All I cared about was moving in the opposite direction of where she'd left me. Around noon, I logged into our shared financial dashboard. She'd always assumed I wasn't paying attention to the details. Budgeting, transfers, the boring stuff. That was her lane. I was just the one bringing in the money. But when things started feeling off, I quietly started tracking the back end. Now, as I looked at the numbers, it was all there: hotel charges, Uber rides, things she never mentioned. And then I saw it. A separate debit card she'd opened without me knowing. She wasn't just lying to me. She was financing the lie with my trust. I opened a new tab and started making some changes. Nothing dramatic, just subtle locks clicking into place. I rerouted our joint account to my personal one, logged out of streaming services on all devices, disabled her access to the home security app, and set up spending alerts for every time she used her card. She wanted space? Fine, I'd give it to her. That night, I didn't go home. I left work around 6 o'clock and drove to a small hotel on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, just a clean room and silence. I ordered room service, turned off my phone, and let the TV run on low while I stared at the ceiling. At 8:47, I powered my phone back on. 3 texts from her. "Where are you? Did you take money out of the account? Are you trying to be petty now?" I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. I watched it ring out. Then another text came through. "This isn't funny. Call me back." Still nothing. I ate dinner, took a hot shower, and fell asleep faster than I had in months. The next morning, her tone had changed. I opened my phone to a string of messages, all sent between midnight and 6 a.m. "Okay, what's going on? Seriously, this is immature. Did you block me from the credit card? I needed that money for a deposit today. Don't be a child. Just talk to me. I need help. Call me, please." And there it was, the first time in months she used the word please. She had gone from condescension to desperation in less than 24 hours. And all I had to do was nothing. Just stop holding the rope she thought I'd never let go of. I didn't delete the messages or reply. By lunchtime, she called again, this time from her office line. I let it ring twice before answering. "What's going on?" she asked immediately. No greeting, no softness. "You tell me," I said, keeping my voice even. "I have a catering invoice due today. They already charged half to the card you canceled." "No," I said, I removed my name. You're free to use your half however you want. A long silence followed. You're punishing me, she said finally. No, I'm stepping back. I said, that's different. You're being a damn child, she shot back. Probably, I replied, but I'm a child with good credit and a working car. How's your afternoon? She hung up. That night, I stayed at the same hotel. Around 10 p.m., I got a voicemail. Her voice was shaky, not crying, but close. I don't know what you're doing. If you're trying to hurt me, fine, you've made your point. Can we please talk? Just talk. I didn't mean to laugh at you. I was just angry. I said things I didn't mean. Please call me. I replayed it twice, not because I was tempted to respond, but because I wanted to understand the shift. The panic wasn't about missing me. It was about losing control of a system she thought she could keep running while humiliating the man who was funding it. The laugh at dinner was free. This was the invoice, and she'd be paying it in full by Friday. She wasn't angry anymore. She was polite. The next morning, she texted me. Let's meet, just to talk. No fighting. I'll listen. That was new. The version of her I'd lived with for the past 2 years didn't listen. She talked, corrected, rolled her eyes, and dismissed. Listening was something she reserved for clients, friends, maybe her trainer, not for me. I ignored the message, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I didn't care what she had to say anymore. When the balance shifts, it doesn't happen with a crash. It happens quietly. You just wake up one morning and realize you're no longer waiting for them to understand. You understand. She tried again that afternoon. I get it. I was wrong. We can work on it. Please. At some point, I stopped checking the timestamps and just read each message as though it came from someone I didn't know. Someone borrowing her name and number. That evening, I went home, but not to talk. I went to pack. I let myself in quietly. She wasn't there. The house was clean, unnaturally so. Candles were lit, and the table was set for 2. She'd made dinner. Some version of pine, maybe, or a bribe. Her phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't mean to look, but the preview banner rolled across the screen. Still good for Sunday. Hotel booked. I stared at it. The name wasn't saved, just a number. I didn't touch it, didn't scroll, didn't need to. Instead, I walked upstairs and pulled the luggage out of the hall closet. I packed slowly, methodically. I wasn't rushing anymore. That panicked energy belonged to her now. When I was done, I placed a spare key on the dresser and left a small envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was a printout of one of the transfers she made from our joint account to her private debit card, highlighted in yellow. No note, no threat, just proof, not of the affair, but of the lie. I closed the door behind me like I close any other door. I didn't slam it, didn't even let it click loudly, just the sound it would against wood, soft and final. That weekend, I didn't stay at a hotel. I stayed with a friend, Eli. Someone I hadn't seen in months. He offered me the spare room and didn't ask many questions. Just beer, leftover pizza, and the kind of comfortable silence only old friends can offer. Sunday morning, I turned my phone back on. 12 missed calls. A voicemail from her mother. She's been calling everyone. Says you left. You're not answering. I'm not getting involved, but maybe just talk to her. One from her friend Rachel. She's not okay. I know she screwed up, but she's unraveling. Call her before she does something stupid. And finally, hers. The last one came through around 2:30 a.m. I'm sorry. I was scared. I thought if I made you feel small, I wouldn't feel so pathetic. You didn't deserve it. None of it. I need you. Please, just answer. There was a pause at the end. The kind of silence that sounds like someone holding their breath, hoping it'll carry them to a different outcome. Then the message ended. I didn't call back. She'd finally found her breaking point. The moment when self-assurance curdled into desperation. But what she didn't understand, and probably never would, was that my silence wasn't a punishment. It was the absence of effort. No more explanations. No more defending my worth to someone who laughed at it. Her cry for help had come too late. I was already out of reach. A week passed. No texts, no calls, At least not to me. She left a voicemail with Eli once, asking if I was okay, saying she was worried. But it wasn't worry. It was panic makeup. The kind of fear people feel when they realize the game they've been playing had rules after all. I never returned to the house. Never asked for anything back. I left behind a couch, a television, a drawer full of clothes. I could replace all of that. What I couldn't get back, and what I no longer wanted, was the version of myself I used to be in that house. The man who tried, apologized, explained. The man waiting for scraps of affection like they meant something. One morning, a mutual friend messaged me. Saw her at the pharmacy. She looked like hell. Said you were on a break. Is that true? I didn't reply. Let them wonder. That weekend, I sat alone at a small coffee shop near the river, the same one I used to visit years ago, before everything got complicated. I brought a notebook, not for journaling or dramatics, just to write a list. Rent, utilities, forward in my mail, real life. The woman at the next table was laughing gently as her toddler tried to stir his chocolate milk with his finger. The whole place smelled like cinnamon and old wood. Nobody there knew who I was or what I had just walked away from. That felt good, not in a triumphant or victorious way. Just clean. I never blocked her. I didn't have to. She stopped reaching out 3 weeks after I left. I guess she realized I wasn't bluffing. Somewhere between the last ignored voicemail and the silent days that followed, she must have figured out that I hadn't walked out to win. I walked out because there was nothing left to stay for. I'd spent years dragging the dead weight of our marriage behind me, telling myself it was just a rough patch, that people change, that I had to try harder. But I was done trying, done holding up something she was actively tearing down behind my back. She laughed at my pain, not because it was funny, but because in her eyes, I was the punchline. What she didn't realize was that you can only laugh at a person who still wants to be seen. I didn't want to be seen anymore. Not by her. Not by anyone. I never answered her last message. Never will.